buckle up folks and grab your popcorn because we are taking a trip down memory lane. But not just any memory lane. This is Rhode Island's Blackstone Valley, where history, culture, and heritage are as common as the air we breathe. And no, hold your horses, we are not visiting another mill. I know this is shocking, but trust me, our destination is very beautiful and it has so much history. Plus, it's been sitting idle for years, which in my book translates to an exploration goldmine. Now, let's zoom into Rhode Island. You'll find Woonsocket's Main Street Historic District. Now imagine if time decided to settle down and start a family. Now that's what this place feels like. It stands tall, it's proud, it's unyielding. It's a living, breathing tribute to the city's industrial and commercial legacy. Between 1870 and 1930, Woonsocket isn't just on the map, it's catching fire, not literally of course, but economically. Thanks to the unstoppable force that is the Woonsocket Falls. That was the power station where they powered the grits mill, the sawmills, the Foley mill, the iron forges, the works. It was like the city had chugged an energy drink and just couldn't sit still. But wait, there's more. Providence Blackstone Canal carving its way across the landscape. Textile factories kept popping up along the Blackstone River like wild mushrooms after a rainstorm. And let's not forget the Providence-Worcester Railroad, stitching its path across the land like a seamstress, high on caffeine. And in 2023, these towering titans of architectures are standing tall. Well, maybe not as tall as they once did. Now, these colossal buildings have seen better days for sure. They've got more cracks than a secondhand smartphone screen. Their majestic facades are now sporting a fashion-forward, distressed look, but don't let their rough exteriors fool you. These grand old dames are just brimming with tales that would make even the most seasoned history buff head spin. They've watched empires rise and fall, weathered storms that would make your umbrella cry. And if walls could talk, oh man, it's like a daytime soap opera, but with less amnesia and those evil twins. Our architectural friends find themselves on the brink of oblivion, staring down the barrel of a wrecking ball. Progress is a relentless beast. It's always hungry for the new and shiny, but we're not gonna let them fade them into obscurity without a fight. So our destination? The crossroad of High and Main Street, where the grand Longley building stands tall. Imagine the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but instead of stars, it's breathtaking architecture. Now that's what I call a red carpet. Back in the day, this place was buzzing like a beehive. The sidewalks were a symphony of footsteps, and the storefronts, they were overflowing with dreams and dollar bills. From the Edward Harris Mighty Mills to the towering titans that is the Longley building. Woonsocket had seen it all. Our mission, should we accept it, and trust me we do, is to delve into the heart of the silent sentinel and unravel the name that bears this building. Charles E. Longley. Come along, folks, let's dust off the cobwebs and turn back the hands of time and embark on an unforgettable journey through the echoing halls of the Longley building. History isn't just about dates and facts, it's about stories waiting to be told. Now let's get this adventure started. We're gonna take a scenic detour to Sydney, Maine, a place so cozy, it's nestled between Augusta and Waterville, like ham in a sandwich. Rolling hills, friendly folks, and a sense of peace. Now, in this slice of Americana, our main character, Charles Longley, is making his world debut. He was born on July 7, 1850, to Charles Wesley Longley and Elizabeth Ann Swift. As we fast forward to today, Sydney is still charming as ever, with a population nearing 4,000 people. This little gem was incorporated as a town on January 30th, 1792. Now, who do you think they named it after? That's right, Sir Philip Sidney, a poet, courtier, and a soldier. Now, Sydney is no Woonsocket, and it's not trying to be. There's no hustle and bustle of mills here. Nope, just good old-fashioned farm life. Now, Sydney's secret sauce is simplicity. Next to the Kennebec River, it's kept its rural charm intact. Work and farms dot the landscape, standing as proud testaments to a simpler time when life moved at the pace of a horse-drawn carriage and not a bullet train. Our boy Charles Longley hit a rough patch early on. Both of his parents passed away when he was just a kid. He dusted himself off, buckled down, and made it through public school in Sydney. Then, he went to Wesleyan Seminar at Kent Hill. Charles set off for the big city. His destination, you ask? Boston, Massachusetts. And his mission? It was to conquer the world of business. Charles started from the bottom, working as a humble clerk. By 1876, Charles was networking with the bigwigs of the retail clothing industry. Before he knew it, Charles had risen through the ranks, gaining invaluable experience with several leading retail companies. It's like he was playing business bingo and hitting all the right squares, or picture a Rocky-style training montage. But instead of boxing, it's all about mastering the clothing trade. That's our Charles Longley in a nutshell. But Charles wasn't content with just being a star player. Oh no, he had bigger fish to fry. His foresight and ambition were like a compass pointing him towards his destination, which was opening his own clothing store. So in 1876, Charles packed up his dream and his hard-earned savings and set off for a new adventure. His destination, you ask? Providence, Rhode Island, a city buzzing with potential. Charles Longley, our fashion-forward hero, joining forces with George Talbot from Brookline, Mass. Together, they unleashed the Boston Providence Clothing Company onto an unsuspecting world, and boy, does it make a splash. Charles came to the game armed with a treasure trove of knowledge and experience he had picked up in Boston. It's like he had the cheat code for success, and he wasn't afraid to use it. And the results? Their venture into Providence took off faster. But here's the thing about Charles. He wasn't just a business whiz. He had a personality that made him approachable. People didn't just visit his store for the clothing. They came for the Charles E. Longley experience. It's like he had the superpower to turn a one-time customer into a lifelong friend. It's time to dim the lights and cue the romantic music. In 1879, Charles swept Henrietta Augusta off her feet and walked her down the aisle. I'm talking fireworks, butterflies, the whole shebang. Together, they welcomed four little Longleys into the world. They had Charles, Vauder, Rosalind, and Ronald. They also had one more child, but life, as we know, isn't always sunshine and rainbows. Tragically, their son Harold passed away during childhood. Now Charles is about to go all Iron Man on us and build an empire. Only instead of high-tech suits, he's dealing with high-quality thread. The guy started popping up stores in prime locations like fashion game of Whack-A-Mole, Pawtucket, Woonsocket, Fall River, Worcester, New Haven, Hartford, and New Britain. Charles was there, adding a dash of elegance to the New England cityscape. Now these weren't your run-of-the-mill clothing store, housed in the finest buildings available. It's like Charles had a sixth sense for real estate, always sniffing out the best spots. The Pawtucket store? That was just casually situated in the beautiful music hall building, and the Woonsocket store was only found here in the Longley building, the finest structure in the city. It's like Charles was playing Monopoly in real life. And just when we thought Charles couldn't possibly spread his influence any further, he pulls out a fast one and joins the Standard Clothing Company. This move catapulted him into the New York State and even deeper New England. Alright folks, buckle up because our man Charles is about to hit the fast lane on the highway of success. Charles, with his sharp suit, gets elected as president and general manager of the J.B. Barnaby Company. It's like he just leveled up in the game of life. Now, Charles wasn't just a savvy businessman. He was a man with a heart bigger than his empire. He was all about the public welfare, integrity, and courtesy. Our man Charles, the retail emperor and fashion master, hits a snag in his journey. His immune system decided to weaken, leaving him vulnerable to an undisclosed disease. But Charles being Charles, he doesn't let this slow him down. Oh no, he powers through for 6 more years, running his business like a boss. However, on November 29, 1899, Charles passes away at his home on Walcott Street in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Here is Walcott Street today. You can see where Charles' house used to be before they built the rows of houses you see today. Now, before the Longley building was even a twinkle in Charles's eye, its prime real estate was home to the First Baptist Church. We're talking way back in 1834, when horse-drawn carriages were the hottest wheels in town. But then, disaster strikes. A fire comes along, hotter than a jalapeno pepper, and gobbles up the original church. But like the phoenix rising from the ashes, a new church is built in its place. Talk about a comeback. However, in 1890, the land changes hands again, making way for our man Charles to step in. The Longley building was erected by Cutting and Bishop contractors of Worcester. There were 2 ambitious gents with a knack for building, George H. Cutting and J.W. Bishop. But don't worry about the church, they weren't left out in the cold. Instead, they found a new home on Blackstone Street and raised a new church in 1892. Today, the Longley building is so iconic, it's listed under the Woonsocket Main Street Historic District of the National Register of Historic Places. This beauty is decked out in 2 to 3 story bay windows, an overhanging roof cornice, and metal pressed wreath. The first floor storefronts all have been given a facelift. Today, they have a stone facade, and if you take a peek inside the former Domino's joint, you'll see the original beams and high tin ceilings after they stripped walls and drop ceiling. It's like stepping back in time. How cool is that? The Longley building is more than just a pretty face. It's a reflection of the city's prosperous era, a tangible link to the past. It embodies the economic vitality and the lifestyle of the late 19th, early 20th century. The Longley building has a history of fires, but the one that stands out the most was on June 22, 1918, a date that would be forever etched in the annals of Woonsocket's history. This isn't just any old fire, oh no. This is the most catastrophic fire to ever dance in the deadly waltz through the mercantile and office building district of Woonsocket. The alarm was raised by John B. Berard, a resident of 60 High Street, conveniently situated directly behind the Longley building. It was Mr. Berard's wife who first sniffed out trouble. She heard the ominous cracking of flames. Miss Berard sees a fire erupting from the corridor windows of the 3rd floor. I mean, talk about a wake-up call. Captain O'Connor and his squad of boys in blue arrive at the scene. They're joined by Chief Coat, Deputy Chief David E. Stone, and Assistant Engineer A.J. Sutton. By then, the Longley building is already putting on a fiery show, with flames bursting through the roof and rear windows of the top 2 floors. The response is nothing short of epic. The fire department lays out 11 lines of hose, including 7 singles and 4 supplying the colossal turret pipe. A dozen ladders are deployed, the tallest reaching 75 feet into the sky. That's followed by a 50-foot ladder and a 40-foot ladder, amongst other. It's like the vertical race against time, and these guys are not messing around. 6 hose wagon, a horse reel, and 3 trucks are brought to the scene. The entire Woonsocket firefighting force answers the call, their unity echoing through the chaos like a well-oiled machine. There was also a heavy rainstorm that swept through the city, accompanied by a brisk wind from the southeast. It's like Mother Nature decided to join the firefighting team. The stars took a back seat as the city skyline was lit up by a fire. Our once vibrant Longley building was now starring in its own disaster movie. During the investigation, a man was likely on his way down from the dance hall where he casually flicks his still-lit cigarette onto the mat, situated on the third floor corridor right outside Dr. Reed Kellogg's office. The unsuspecting doormat, unable to resist the burning ember, left behind a hole roughly the size of its own on the floor. Now here's the real issue, folks. People were in the building as late as 11 p.m. They even confessed to catching a whiff of smoke. Instead, the fire was allowed to smolder unchecked for 7 hours. So folks, let this be a lesson to all. Not only should we refrain from smoking, but let's also remember to investigate when things smell funny, because sometimes a small act of caution can prevent a large-scale disaster. The Longley building found itself teetering on the brink of uncertainty. The Woonsocket Redevelopment Agency, or WRA, had set its sights on the Main Street Woonsocket for an ambitious redevelopment project in the 1960s. Dubbed the Gateway Project, it promised transformation and progress, but to many it felt like a ruthless erasing of history. Under the banner of this project, the WRA envisioned the state-of-the-art shopping center, reduced traffic congestion, and smooth 4-lane highway. However, this grand design came at a significant cost: the demolition of several historic structures, including the Longley Building, Globe Building, the Blackstone Valley Electric Co., and don't forget the Hotel Blackstone. In their place, the Gateway Project proposed an array of modern building and fresh retail outlets. To soften the blow, families relocated from the raising sections were offered $200 towards moving expenses, and businesses could receive up to $25,000 in relocation support. However, fate intervened and the Gateway Project never saw the light of day, so our Longley building, a testament to our rich history, still stands proudly today. This architectural masterpiece has silently observed a fascinating procession of proprietors, each leaving their unique imprint on its rich history. The tale began with the captivating Miss Longley, who lovingly passed it down to her children. The baton of ownership then transitioned to Dr. T.F. Kennedy and J.F. Gilbert. The building's charm continued to draw our interest and eventually captivated the Piet Jewelers. Then in 1987, the partners at Parms Inc., a real estate company on North Main Street led by Al, took over the reins and they acquired the building, which housed 23 tenants at the time. Not just satisfied with the purchase, they embarked on a significant renovation project, which added more history and life into the Longley building. From the 1890s, the Longley building has played a host to colorful mosaic of tenants. It's been a silent observer of countless dreams and endeavors, each leaving their unique imprint on its storied history. The building's storefronts has had a delightful array of goods changing hands. Its office space has been a hub of diverse commerce, from private detectives piecing together mysteries, vibrant photography studios capturing life's magical moments, and so much more. In essence, the Longley building is not just an architectural marvel. It's a living, breathing chronicle of entrepreneurial spirit in changing times. Its walls whisper tales of ambition, resilience, creativity, and innovation. Among the roster of tenants that grace the Longley building, one name stands out with historical significance: John Hancock Mutual Life Insurance. This company has roots dating back to 1862 and hails from Boston, Massachusetts. Named in homage to the renowned American patriot John Hancock, the company carries a legacy as rich and profound as its namesake. At the helm of his empire was David A. Schulte, a titan of industry whose annual turnover boasted a staggering $25 million, but his prowess didn't stop at cigars. Schulte was also a formidable player in the New York City real estate scene, flexing his business to net an additional $10 million through property transactions. Schulte's story, yet another fascinating story into the rich tapestry of the Longley building's history. In the golden year of 1927, when sports legend Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig were basking in the limelight, the New York Yankees welcomed an unassuming yet promising talent to their roster, Joe Stiebrowski, a pitcher hailing from Penn State. Joe was celebrated for his formidable fastball. For Joe, baseball was more than just a game. It was a ticket to a life of greater opportunities. However, despite his talent, fate had a different path in stores. He never did get to pitch an official game, but he did grace the mound during the Yankees' exhibition game. When baseball didn't pan out as hoped, Joe pivoted towards a different field, dentistry. After earning his degree, he established his own practice in the bustling heart of Woonsocket, choosing the iconic Longley building as his base. Achille Cote carved out a reputation as a leading figure in dentistry. Cote became a pillar of dental care in the same location, his practice becoming an enduring fixture in his community, as he once held the prestigious position of the president of the Woonsocket Dental Association. The next tenant of the Longley building is Piet Jewelers, a dazzling beacon to the domain of fine jewelry. For an impressive span of 65 years, this family-run gem has been catering to the sparkle and shine needs of Woonsocket and wider Blackstone Valley. Now proudly operating its third generation, the glowing torch of this family tradition shows no sign of dimming. Piet Jewelers' reputation glistens as brightly as the jewels, making them a household name not just within the walls of the Longley building, but across the entire Rhode Island Blackstone Valley. Who was the last person to own the Longley building? None other than John Enos. He bought the building in 2002, claiming the Longley building for $160,000. Now, let me introduce you to John. He's a master of the pizza delivery and a risk taker extraordinaire. John wasn't just about the dough, the sauce, or the cheese though. He rolled up his sleeve and dived headfirst into learning the ins and outs of the pizza franchise business, clocking in at a staggering 80 to 100 hours a week. Today, our pizza king decided to hang up his apron. Today, John has sold off his Domino's pizza franchise and is now needing deals of the real estate world. John, being the visionary he is, saw the Longley building wasn't just any building. He saw potential. For years, John and the city of Woonsocket have been working tirelessly, looking for ways to bring this architectural gem back to life. As of December 2023, this architectural gem was up for grabs with a price tag of $850,000. We can't wait to see who steps up to the plate and invests in this vibrant city of Woonsocket. So as we move forward, we're thrilled to see the transformation take place, because when history meets innovation, magic happens. Oh wait a minute, hold on, I forgot something. I totally forgot to tell you about the wizard inside the Longley building. No, I'm not talking about, like Disney or Marvel wizards. I'm talking about the Great Leroy. Now this is no ordinary wizard. The Great Leroy was a master of escape, just like Houdini. His repertoire was a spectacle to behold. He could wiggle out of cells, handcuffs, shackles, straitjackets, and even airtight nail boxes and mailbags. The date was October 26, 1916, at high noon exactly, in a jaw-dropping display of audacity. The Great Leroy hung himself from the iconic Longley building. Spectators from the crowd had the honor of fastening these restraints, adding an extra layer of authenticity to the act. He was then hoisted from a derrick, suspended in mid-air for all to see. And yes, he was hung by his neck. What unfolded next was nothing short of mesmerizing. Shackled and suspended, the Great Leroy began his daring escape. Wriggling and squirming, he worked his way free from the complex Chinese arrangement of restraints. The crowd watched. Finally, after 1 minute and 15 seconds, the Great Leroy broke free. The crowd erupted in a thunderous applause, hundreds of people cheering for the man who had just performed what was arguably the most thrilling exhibition ever attempted in Woonsocket.